Welcome to our channel, where we bring to life stories of hope, struggle, and triumph from across Africa. Today, you will hear the powerful journey of Adesewa, a poor orphaned girl whose hands turned simple leather into dreams, and whose kindness changed the life of a billionaire disguised as a stranger. Stay with us as we dive into a story of faith, resilience, and unexpected love. The cock had not yet crowed when 14-year-old Adesewa from her raffia mat. The cold Harmattan breeze crept through the cracks in the mud walls of their small one-room house in Ketu Igbara, a quiet village in southwestern Nigeria. She rubbed her arms and tiptoed past her sleeping grandmother, Mama Moronike, whose frail frame lay curled under a threadbare wrapper. Adesewa struck a matchstick and lit the kerosene lamp on the stool beside the bed. The soft glow filled the room, revealing patched clothes, worn-out cooking pots, and a clay water pot in the corner. A faded photo of her late parents hung on the wall, a young couple who died in a motor accident when Adesewa was just 5. She stared at the photo for a moment. "If only you both lived," she whispered. Yet, Adesewa never allowed self-pity to sit on her shoulders for long. Her grandmother always said, "Pity won't cook your soup, my child. Rise and be useful." By sunrise, she had fetched water, swept the compound, and warmed some leftover food for breakfast. When Mama Moronike stirred, she smiled. "My golden girl," she said weakly, her voice rasping with age. "The one God left for me." Adesewa knelt respectfully. "Good morning, Grandma. You're awake before the birds again." "Sleep doesn't feed us, Grandma," she replied with a small smile. They shared the meager meal in silence. The old woman's hands trembled as she ate, and Adesewa gently held her cup. After completing secondary school, Adesewa knew she wouldn't be going to university like her classmates. There was no money for such dreams. But she didn't complain. Instead, she approached Baba Kafayat, the only shoemaker in the village. He was a gruff, bearded man with fingers hardened like boiled yam from years of stitching leather. "I want to learn," she said boldly. He narrowed his eyes at her. "You? A girl?" She nodded. He scoffed. "Do you know how hard this work is? Can your fingers stitch thick rubber? Can your back bend over shoes all day? I can try." "Try." He barked a laugh. "This is not market gossip. This is real work. Please, Baba. Let me try. I don't have anything else." There was something about the plea in her eyes that softened him. "Come tomorrow. Sweep the shop first. Then we'll see." And that's how her apprenticeship began. Each day, she swept the dusty workshop, fetched water, cleaned tools, and watched him work. She observed how he held the awl, how he flattened the leather, how he burned the edges with candlelight for a clean finish. After 3 months, he let her mend a broken slipper. "Not bad," he mumbled. "For a girl." By 6 months, she was crafting her own sandals, simple but neat. Women from the next village started asking for the young girl's design. One day, Baba Kafayat called her aside. "You're no longer an apprentice. You're a shoemaker." Tears gathered in her eyes. "Thank you, Baba. Make me proud. And charge well, your hands are gold." As Adesewa's skills grew, so did her savings. She used palm leaves and bamboo to build a small shed beside the house, a one-woman shoemaking stall. Every morning, she knelt before her grandmother for prayers. One evening, as the moon cast its silver light on the compound, Mama Moronite called her. "My child, come sit." Adesewa sat on the mat, head bowed in respect. "I may not live to see you wear a wedding gown, or ride in a car of your own. But I see greatness in you." "Don't talk like that, Grandma. Let me talk, please. Before my voice fades." She reached into a small calabash beside her, and brought out a rusty iron ring, Adesewa's late mother's wedding band. "She would have wanted you to have this." Tears fell down Adesewa's cheeks. "I bless you, my daughter," the old woman said, placing her wrinkled hand on Adesewa's head. "May your hands never lack. Makings were the shoes you make. May your name be known beyond this village. Her voice cracked, but her eyes shone. You were born from pain, but you live in purpose. It was the most sacred blessing Adesewa had ever received. 3 weeks later, Mama Maranite passed away in her sleep. Adesewa buried her with borrowed money and her mother's ring clutched in her palm. For days, she wept alone. But eventually, the hammer called her back to work. The dead may sleep, but the living must eat. It was a Monday afternoon when she first saw him, a tall, slim man with bushy hair and a scruffy beard, dragging a broken sandal down the dusty road. He paused at her stall and examined the shoes on display. "You day sell or repair?" he asked. "Both," she replied, eyeing him curiously. He wore a faded shirt with missing buttons and trousers that had seen better decades. His eyes were bright, though too sharp for a beggar. "I need help with this," he said, lifting his foot. The sole was hanging like a loose tongue. She chuckled softly. "Now only one shoe cut." He smiled. "The second shoe pity am." She laughed. It was the first time she had laughed like that in weeks. "Sit down. I go fix am." As she worked, he watched her. "You sew with purpose," he said. She shrugged. "Na shoe we day talk, not soul." "But soul enter shoe too," he replied. "Some people wear pain. Some wear pride. You wear peace." She raised an eyebrow. "You shall be poetry." He shook his head. "Just small observation." When she finished, he handed her 500, more than she charged. "It's too much, oh. Take it." The stitch was clean and the laugh was free. He walked away before she could argue. Later that night, she found herself thinking of the stranger. Something about his presence lingered like the scent of burnt firewood. Who was he? And why did his shoes look borrowed? The next day, the stranger returned. "I hope you don't mind me coming back," he said. Adesewa smiled. "Your shoes spoil again." "No," he replied, holding up a worn-out leather slipper. "But this one is jealous that you fixed the other." She laughed and beckoned him to sit. "You never tell me your name," she said, trimming a piece of sole. "Olumide." That one's strong." "And you?" "Adesewa." "Nice name." "Means." "The crown is beautiful, right?" She nodded, surprised he knew. Most strangers couldn't guess. As she worked, they talked. He asked questions about her childhood, her grandmother, shoemaking, her dreams. But whenever she asked about him, he gave vague answers. "I'm just passing through," he would say. Sometimes, he sat quietly under the mango tree beside her stall, offering to help polish shoes or fetch water. The villagers watched curiously. Some whispered, "That one must be running from something. Maybe he's a beggar with smooth tongue." Adesewa didn't care. There was a peace in his company, and her heart felt lighter. One afternoon, while she was stitching a custom sandal, Mama Risi, the market gossip, stopped by. "Adesewa, you and that Olumide boy. What is happening?" Adesewa kept sewing. "He just likes helping around." "Man we no get job, no house, no family? You don't know where he's from. What if he's a thief?" "I trust him." Mama Risi scoffed. "Your grandmother would have asked questions." That cut deep. Adesewa wanted to argue, but she knew it would only feed the flames. That evening, Olumide noticed she was quiet. "Something wrong?" She hesitated. "People are talking." "About me?" She nodded. He sighed. "Let them talk. Truth always outlives gossip." "But who are you really?" she asked. "You speak like someone who went to university, yet you live like. He chuckled softly. "Like a bushman." "I didn't mean it like that." "I know." He paused. "Maybe one day, I'll tell you everything. But not yet." She looked away, unsure if she could trust someone who kept secrets. One evening, the clouds broke into a heavy downpour. Adesewa was packing up her shoes when Olumide appeared, drenched and shivering. "Follow me," she said, and led him to her house. It was the first time he saw where she lived. She gave him a wrapper to dry himself, and warmed up leftover yam porridge. They sat in silence, as the rain hammered the zinc roof. "You live here alone?" he asked. "Yes. Since Grandma died." "No siblings?" "None." "You're strong, Adesewa." "I am survivor." Surviving is strength. He reached into his shirt pocket and brought out a small, folded photo. It was old, creased, and faded. "That's my mother," he said. "She died when I was 12. Adesewa's eyes softened. "My father sent me abroad after her death. I hated him for it. I didn't want money. I wanted a family." She stared at him. "You're not poor, are you?" He didn't answer. "I knew it," she said, half smiling. "You speak like someone who grew up in comfort." He looked away. "I left it behind to find something real. Something not tied to my family's wealth." "Why here?" "Because here. No one knows me." There was a long silence. Then he asked, "Can I stay here for tonight?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I'll sleep by the door," he added. That night, they didn't sleep much. The air was thick with questions unspoken, hearts that didn't know whether to lean in or pull away. 2 days later, tragedy struck. A careless child knocked over a kerosene stove at the back of the compound. Flames leapt from a cooking shed and spread fast. Adesewa's stall, her precious shoemaking hut, caught fire. By the time villagers gathered with buckets, everything had turned to ash: her tools, leather, display shoes, and savings. She stood frozen, watching her dreams burn. When the flames died, she dropped to her knees. "It's gone. Everything." Olumide rushed to her side. "We can rebuild." "With what?" "I have nothing left." He tried to speak, but she turned away. "Please go." "Adesewa." "I said leave." She couldn't bear to be seen broken. That night, she wept into her mother's ring, whispering, "Mama, why is life always so hard for me?" The next morning, she heard a knock. When she opened the door, a sack of new leather material sat on her doorstep. There were also stitching tools, polish and thread, everything she'd lost. Beside it, a note. "You may lose your tools, but never lose your hands." She looked around, but Olumide was nowhere in sight. Tears welled up again, this time from gratitude. She rebuilt her stall with help from 2 young boys in the village. Though smaller, it stood firmer than before. Clients returned. She worked harder. And with every stitch, she remembered the man who saw value in her ashes. Weeks passed. Olumide returned, this time looking even more ragged. Adesewa saw through it now. He was hiding something bigger than poverty. "I want to work for you," he said. "As apprentice." She laughed. "Are you serious?" He nodded. "I want to learn how to build something real. Like you." They worked together, stitched together, and slowly healed together. Then one Sunday morning, he brought out a small box. "Will you marry me, Adesewa?" Her heart raced. "Olumide, I don't even know who you really are." He knelt. "Then let me show you." Adesewa stood frozen as Olumide remained on one knee. "Adesewa, I came to this town not to hide, but to find." "Find what?" She whispered. "A heart. A soul. A woman not blinded by wealth, but guided by truth." He opened the small box. Inside was a ring, not diamond, but beautifully carved with wood and gold beads. "I don't have much to offer now, but if you say yes, I promise to tell you everything." She trembled. Are you rich?" "Yes. My full name is Olumide Folarin Ajayi." My family owns several companies across Lagos, Ibadan, and Accra. But I've walked away from all of that. Until now. She gasped. You're one of those AJs? He nodded. My father wanted me to marry the daughter of another billionaire. But all the women I met, they only saw my name, not my heart. And now you want me? She asked. You showed me love when I looked like nothing. That's all I need to know. She stared at him for a long time. Her breath caught in her chest. I need time, she finally said. I'll wait, he replied. That night, Adesewa lit a candle and pulled out her grandmother's wrapper. She placed it beside her mat, the way Mama used to sleep near her as a child. Then she whispered, Grandma, I wish you were here. I need your guidance. She remembered her grandmother's voice that final day. Greater than my daughter, life will test you. Men will come. Pain will come. But never lose your kindness. That is your power. I bless you with the strength of your mother, the wisdom of your ancestors, and the grace of God. Go and make me proud. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Grandma. He saw my kindness. A week later, Adesewa sent for Olumide. He arrived, dressed simply, but something in his posture was different, calm, confident, but humble. I've thought about it, she began. And I've decided. Yes. He beamed. Not the grin of a rich man who got what he wanted, but the smile of a soul finally at rest. They hugged. News spread like wildfire. Some villagers were skeptical. Others celebrated. Mama Risi fainted when she heard Olumide was actually a billionaire. Jesus is Lord. So the bush boy was a lion in disguise. Within a month, Olumide took Adesewa to Lagos. But he didn't throw her into mansions or makeup stores. Instead, he enrolled her in a prestigious school of footwear design. You must know your craft like a queen knows her kingdom, he said. She studied hard, branding, design, marketing. She created patterns that combined Yoruba prints with modern styles. Her shoes began attracting attention. He helped her open her own brand, Adesewa, a boutique for handcrafted, Afrocentric footwear. In 6 months, her shop opened in Ikeja. A year later, she was invited to speak at a Women in Business Summit. And through it all, Olumide stood quietly by her side, never overshadowing, always encouraging. At her first brand launch event, Adesewa stood before a crowd in a cream-colored dress and sandals she made herself. She held the microphone with trembling fingers. I used to be a shoemaker's granddaughter. I stitched shoes in the dust, under sun and rain. I ate gari at night and cried into wrappers. She paused. But now, I own a brand. Not because the fiancé is rich, but because someone believed in me when I had nothing. And because I never gave up. The crowd rose in applause. In the front row, Olumide smiled. Beside him, a framed photo of her grandmother rested gently. Adesewa whispered under her breath, Grandma. I made you proud. Adesewa's life changed overnight. From dusty slippers to designer sandals, from village paths to red carpets. But wealth came with its own pressure. She now had a staff of 15. A personal assistant, tailors, marketers, even a cleaner for her Lagos apartment. But her heart remained humble. Every morning, she still whispered a short prayer facing east, like her grandmother taught her. God, help me never forget where I came from. Olumide watched her carefully, making sure success didn't swallow her soul. But it wasn't pride that crept in, it was exhaustion. Adesewa exploded in popularity. Orders poured in from Abuja, Accra, even the UK. But with growth came late nights, returns, delays, and staff complaints. Her shop manager, Bidemi, grew jealous. She day form Madam now. Small girl from Iana Ipaja. Because she's dating rich man, Bidemi murmured to another staff. Adesewa overheard. It pierced her heart. She went home and cried into her pillow. I never asked for all this. I just wanted to make shoes and take care of Grandma, she whispered. Olumide noticed the change. You don't sleep well anymore. I'm fine. You say you're fine, but I know something's wrong. She paused. I feel like I'm losing myself. This wasn't how I imagined life after struggle. He sat beside her. Let's take a break. Let's go back to your village. Rest. Recharge. She hesitated. People will laugh. They'll say I failed. No, they'll see a woman strong enough to pause. That's not failure. That's wisdom. They traveled quietly, arriving at her old house with little announcement. Mama Risi burst into tears. My Adesewa. Oluwa. I thought you forgot us. Adesewa cleaned the compound, visited old neighbors with gifts and money, and even repaired some villagers' shoes for free. You know go spoil rich girl hand? One old man joked. She laughed. My hands were made for this. It's in my blood. Back in Lagos, Bidemi saw the trip as weakness. She don't leave shop for village. Now we go move, she told a delivery partner. She created a fake vendor account and rerouted online payments into her own account. Within 2 weeks, over 3.5 million had disappeared. When Adesewa returned, the damage was done. The shop's account was nearly empty. Bidemi. My own staff. She gasped. They couldn't reach her. She had vanished. The stress took its toll. Adesewa collapsed in the shop one afternoon. She was rushed to the hospital. Diagnosis: fatigue, anxiety, and mild ulcer. Olumide sat beside her hospital bed, holding her hand. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Sorry for what? For being human. For trusting someone. He kissed her forehead. You'll rise again. You're Adesewa, the girl who stitched destiny with her hands. They both hugged and laughed. Weeks later, while resting at home, a young boy from her village arrived. Auntie Adesewa, my mama say make I give you this. He handed her a dusty bag. Inside was her grandmother's Bible. A note was inside. Greater than child, when you feel lost, return to your foundation. Remember, a seed may fall, but it doesn't die unless it gives up. Rise. She cried for hours. Adesewa called her board together. We're not dead. We're planting new roots. They rebranded. New packaging. New logo. A new mission to empower women shoemakers from rural areas. She created a program, Shoes from the Soil, hiring girls from local villages and training them to make shoes, paying them fair wages. The brand regained strength. Stronger. Wiser. 6 months later, she was invited to speak at a fashion tech summit. After her speech, a woman approached her, tears in her eyes. You don't remember me? Adesewa frowned. No, I'm sorry. I was the girl who used to sit near your grandmother's window. The one you gave free slippers to when I had none. The woman now owned a footwear stall in Ibadan, all thanks to being inspired by Adesewa. That night, Adesewa cried again, not tears of pain, but joy. Olumide proposed again. This time with a diamond ring. Not because I have to, but because every time I see you rise, I fall deeper in love. This time, their wedding was grand and flashy. Rich in culture, with Yoruba dancers, village elders, and a live band from their hometown. Even Mama Risi danced barefoot with a calabash on her head. Adesewa opened a new steps workshop in her village. Girls lined up to learn. She walked through the room, smiling. Every stitch you make is not just fabric. It's legacy. In the back of the workshop, a painting of her grandmother hung proudly. Years later, Adesewa wrote a book titled Stitched by Grace. It became a bestseller. Her story traveled from Nigeria to Ghana to Kenya. She built a foundation for orphans who wanted to learn trade skills. Each time she told her story, she ended with the same words. Greater than kindness is not weakness. It is the hammer that shapes destiny. Her daughter, Taif, ran to her one day with a tiny, clumsy shoe made of cloth and buttons. "Mummy, I made this." Adesewa lifted the shoe to her heart. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. Your great-grandmother would be so proud. One evening, as the sun set, Adesewa visited her grandmother's grave. She placed flowers on it and whispered, "Greater than thank you for teaching me love. For blessing me with your faith. For raising an orphan to be a queen." The breeze swept through the trees, as if her grandmother's spirit nodded in approval. And so, the girl who once mended sandals under the sun became a woman who walked with kings. Her story echoed through villages and cities alike, not because she married rich, but because she never forgot where she came from. In every stitch she made, the world felt the warmth of her grandmother's hands. The Shoemaker's Blessing. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new inspiring African story. Your support helps us keep these beautiful tales alive. Thank you for being part of this journey.